Are you legally allowed to shoot someone in the back in a case of self-defense? Now, this might seem like a pretty interesting question, but very often when I ask this question in classes, almost all the time, people get the answer to this question incorrect. So I want to show you guys two different cases. One of them I'm sure you're familiar with, and one that just happened recently, and get your feedback in regards to these individual cases and how they played out. So I'm sure recently you guys saw that there was a man that was in Houston, and recently he was actually acquitted of charges that were put up against him in regards to him shooting a guy in the back when it came to a robbery. So I want to play out this video for you guys really quick, just so we could rewatch what that scenario looked like. But also, I want to talk about a few additional things before we get to the next video, and then speak about his case being acquitted, as well as this other case, which was a little bit different in regards to this playing out. So let's just first recap, and I want to talk about a few things that happened in this video that was super stressful to watch, but should be learning points for you guys in regards to things that you might be able to do, and make sure that you guys don't get these things incorrect if you're going to be someone who carries and concealed carries in like around town. So let's rewatch this clip really quickly. So if you watch over here on the bottom left, there's this guy right over here who is going to be trying to draw a gun. So here's the first big issue that comes out. I want you guys to watch how long it actually takes him to see that there's a problem, and then after that point, get the gun out of his holster. It takes him so long, in fact, that by the time he actually was able to get his gun out, he actually had to play to the guy's rules and give him his money, because at the time, he wasn't even ready to take his gun out. So he had to first comply first, try to give his money, wait for the guy to move along, and then try again to get his firearm out. So you really need to make sure that if you have a holster and a system in place, you've trained enough with that system that you're confident in it, and also know that you won't run into this kind of problem if you end up actually needing to draw. So watch this. So the news story kind of already got this wrong, because initially it says initially the customer threw his belongings on the ground as the suspect pointed his pistol at him. He only did that because he couldn't get his gun out fast enough. So he's right now just complying in order to try to get his gun out again, right? At this point, he actually ended up taking a few shots. And what was crazy is after the guy was already on the ground, he walked up to him while he was on the ground and shot him again. Now, it is crazy to me that ultimately he was completely acquitted of the charges that would put up against him, which is pretty interesting considering that I would be surprised in a regular case if a person did that. And the last shot is what the shot that's in question. The last shot, where the initial shots, you could argue self-defense, no question, but ultimately he walked up to the guy afterwards and then fired again. So again, that really leaves a question in regards to excessive force, I guess, would be the question. Again, good for him that he got fully acquitted, but the question is going to be about when are you able to shoot someone in the back, which in that case, obviously, the person was shot in the back. So here's the general outline before I show you guys the next video, which is really the one that just came out. The general explanation for the general reasoning for why you're able to shoot someone or use lethal force against someone else is that any person able to cause great bodily injury or death to another person is defensible. Now, it doesn't only include firearms. It includes knives. It includes blunt force trauma. It includes, again, to each case their own. And I'm not going to give you exact details because everything will be specific in a case-to-case scenario. But any person able to cause great bodily injury or death to another person is defensible. So now, in this case, the guy was still armed. He might not have been at the moment pointing the gun at him, but that's a sign of great bodily injury or death to the people, to either himself or the people around him. Now, this next case was very interesting because the law enforcement was called in Rochester. This is from police activity on YouTube. You can check out the full video. I'll make sure to link it below. They got a call about two individuals with firearms, and they were wearing sweatpants. They gave them identification. A person identified them and drove by, and he was saying that he noticed that they had a gun. So he knew that they had a gun. So now police are showing up to the scene of what they already assume is going to have a firearm with them. So you also see how in this video, two law enforcement officers are going to show up. They're going to have an initial interaction, and you guys want to see, obviously, watch body language to see how this guy's reacting to the fact that law enforcement is there. And let's go see exactly what transpired and see what we can learn from this.
I'm walking this way.
Okay.
We're not staying right
Okay. What's going on today, though? Okay.
I'm just nothing.
Okay.
Walking around.
What do you mean you're doing work? Going to work? Where do you work? Work in a mechanic shop? Okay. What do you do there? What do you do there?
So for gun guys, you might want to notice, again, watching body language, this stance, although it might not be the stance he was maybe originally thinking about, this is a very common stance for guys who carry appendix, where it looks pretty straightforward, pretty casual, so to speak, but your dominant hand, which in this case is going to be his right hand, could be holding the bottom of his shirt, getting ready to do a draw from the appendix position. So although this looks somewhat nonchalant and casual, this could be already a very bad position to be in, because that could be the beginning of the drawing process. So again, you see that that position is now being squared off. He's reaching for his waistline. And again, since the cops already know that there's a gun that was reported there, these are things you really have to watch out for.
So what are you guys doing like right here though? People got some. Okay. What was that? Okay. We got some weird calls, man.
So something else that's very interesting is that ideally it's always important that when officers are dealing with individual people, you never want to be standing right next to each other as cops, because if you guys are both standing right over here, then technically speaking, if a person draws, they could fire and fire on a very close distance between two people, and that would be an issue. What did happen in this case, which is more beneficial, is that you see one officer's over here, the other officer's all the way over here. So you make what's kind of referred to as like a V formation, where the subject is in middle and you have a much larger distance between two officers. So it makes it more difficult to need to do that kind of emergency transition between two targets. So having that wider area gives them more control. So you can see already he notices that that position is being already taking place. So now he's going to start walking around, because that's a really bad position tactically to be in if you want to be the bad guy. So now we're going to see how that plays out for him now.
All right, can you just hang out? Oh. He is running northbound. Hey, stop, drop the gun. On your stomach now. On your stomach now. Hands behind your back.
So they obviously reached out to get a medical personnel on staff, right? They called for medical, but you could see how, again, in that case, how fast that played out. And again, this is another example of a person facing away from an officer. But if there's already a gun out, it doesn't take much for that gun to be just pointed in the direction of people who are responding, which in that case would be obviously very, very negative for the police officers. So I'm curious to hear your feedback on both these videos. On the first video with the Houston man being acquitted of charges when it came to defensible use of a firearm inside a restaurant. And then the second case, we can see how that played out between officers and a subject in regards to him running away from officers, but he then pulled out a firearm while still running. The question for you guys is that defensible? Do you see that being necessary? Or would you say you're on the opposite side of it, where unless it's directly pointed at someone, where it's clearly a threat now, not just able to become a threat very quickly, would be a defensible use? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed a video like this, please feel free to subscribe. And I would like to do more reaction videos, because I think there's a lot of tactics we can learn from these kinds of videos of watching how law enforcement reacts to individuals, or defensive videos of just regular concealed carry guys reacting to being in a case of high stress. So if you have any more questions, or if you have video recommendations, leave a comment below so I can check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.